is going on, you guys? Riles here, back with Cruisin with the Cocks. We got pilot K-Bab, as always, at the helm, getting us to our destination safely. She's a pretty reckless driver. She drives like a damn maniac.
No, well,
we're good.
If you find yourself...
this morning, and we're on our way to Atlanta. Well, we're staying in Stone Mountain, Georgia. It's like a suburb, I guess, but it's like a main attraction. Obviously a mountain outside of Georgia. It's about 30 minutes from downtown Atlanta. There's no real RV parks or places to stay in like urban Atlanta, so we picked Stone Mountain. The main reason we're coming here is we got some friends in the area. My good friend from college, Paul, we wanted to just stop by and say hi to him. As we've been traveling, we realized there's campsites and then there's RV resorts, and like the difference between the two would be like RV resorts are a little bit more bougie on the upper end, have a lot more amenities. They have like sometimes gyms, sometimes pools, whereas the campsite's pretty much like you may or may not have hookups, but you're just kind of in a park. They range kind of from like, I think we've seen like $20-$30 a night all the way up to like $100-$150. There's like these KOAs that are very expensive. Is that dead armadillo? I think
it's a dead armadillo.
We just got into Georgia.
Rip in peace.
Rip in peace, yes.
But basically what he's trying to say is you pay for what you get. So when we stayed at NC State Fairgrounds, there were 0 amenities but full hookups. Paid $35 a night, which is a great price, and it was perfectly fine for us. And then when we were looking for our upcoming stops, there were some KOAs and they were trying to charge $150, but they have amenities like fancy gyms and pools. We're not always going to use that, so we're not always going to pay for that. So we're trying to find that balance. We want sometimes to have things to use, like a gym was nice at the Red Gate we stayed at, but we don't always need that. The last place we stayed at, we didn't have a sewer hookup, so we had to dump on our way out. We were only there for 2 or 3 nights, so it didn't matter. We're just kind of picking and choosing what works for us based on the timing of our trip and how long we're staying.
Yeah, I'd say we averaged between like 50 and 60 a night. And a lot of times it's not like so much price, it's just what is the best location to make sense. Like Stone Mountain was the closest to downtown Atlanta, and it just kind of made the most sense. If anyone did see my old apartment in Arlington, you'll know that it was pretty tiny. And I lived there for 5 years, almost 6 years. Caitlin lived there with me for 3 years.
We had a dog there for 2 years.
We had a dog there for 2 years. I mean, we survived. I'd say our transition into this RV, although it's small and cramped, has been seamless. We've really kind of just had good practice of how to do chores, how to do dishes, how to prep meals. You know, I have my own little office space I can work from. The dogs love being outside. I was a little worried about space, but given that we kind of had practice, like the apartment was maybe 4 or 5 times bigger than this as far as like living area is concerned. Yeah, the bed's a little bit of a pain to get in and out of sometimes, but we manage, and I haven't really had much complaints. I'm really enjoying it. It's fun going someplace new every week. We spend most of our time outside anyway, other than just like sleeping, working, doing dishes, and cooking. We're outside the RV almost all the time. We'll be in Atlanta in about hour and a half.
Stone Mountain was a quiet yet beautiful campground. We were lucky to have hardly any neighbors during our stay. One small gripe was that we found it really difficult to navigate around the park, as there was a large lake, a golf course, and several fences that made short A to B travel pretty complicated. However, some of the detours paid off with beautiful scenic displays that I'll remember forever.
Biking on my way back from Walmart. This is pretty damn beautiful. Doesn't get much better than this. We're about to hike up a mountain. I'm with Dr. Paul Cruisin. What do you got to say about this?
Hey, happy to be with Cruisin with the Cocks.
We've got a long walk ahead of us. I'm on Stone Mountain in Georgia with this guy, Dr. Paul Cruisin. He is the world's most famous chiropractor. He's got abs of steel. Look at these guys. I could eat Jello off of it. Absolutely gorgeous up here. Bunch of slowpokes down there. Can't handle the speed. Stash makes me aerodynamic. Too fast for them. Dr. Paul is too slow. Caitlin's slow too. So we're at Stone Mountain. We've reached the peak. Just took a nice little hike and trek up to the top of Stone Mountain. Took about 30 minutes. It's all inspiring up here. Takes your breath away.
One night we went out for dinner with Paul and Sam. The restaurant was called Little Bear and combined Asian and Jewish cuisine for some truly unique and delicious flavors. It was an awesome restaurant with a cool and quirky vibe, and we had a great evening filled with fun and laughter. Afterwards, we headed across the street to grab some drinks and played a few rounds of shuffleboard before we headed back to camp for the night, as we had a long day ahead of us.
We decided to get a rental car for the day. Atlanta is not super accessible by RV. We knew that going into it.
Well, we're also staying.
Thanks for cutting me off.
Where we're staying in Stone Mountain is not super accessible to Atlanta, which we knew going into it. Our friend has now come pick us up twice, and we don't want to keep making our friend come get us. Shout out Dr. Paul Carone.
It's been awesome. It's been fun hanging out with him. We've had a couple evenings together. We hiked Stone Mountain together. We had dinner last night, and we wanted to hang out and do, look at some of the sights and him give us kind of the tour of the city, so to speak. And we also had a couple other things that we just kind of, we had a couple like restaurants and like food we wanted to stop by and grab. So we decided to get a rental car, $60 for the day. It was pretty nice considering an Uber one way would have been like 30, 40. So grab the rental car. We're gonna drive into town, walk around, see some sights, grab a quick bite to eat, come back. We're just kind of doing a quick thing in the morning, and then this evening we'll probably run around and do a couple last minute errands before packing up and heading on out.
See you around Atlanta.
Paul wanted to give us a tour of Atlanta, so we met at his place where he set us up with some bicycles. After a quick tune-up, we began our tour by biking through the Beltline, which is a trail through the core of Atlanta's in-town neighborhoods. While there are obviously a lot of local shops, cafes, bars, and breweries along the way, the path also has tons of local artwork and murals that were so impressive to see up close. Paul was a 10 out of 10 tour guide and gave us a ton of background on local artists and buildings. Through our travel, we really started to get a sense of the feel and atmosphere of Atlanta, and I'll be the first to admit that I underestimated the cultural depth of this beautiful city.
I have found that major cities tend to be the best for finding gluten-free gyms. Atlanta did not disappoint. I was even able to find a 100% gluten-free bakery with delicious goodies. From breakfast biscuits to donuts to homemade Pop-Tarts, I had a blast loading up on sweet treats.
Cheers it. Yeah, Paul. All right, in Inman Park, downtown Atlanta. Stopping at a wine bar for a little wine tasting. Some Portuguese wine is the flavor of the day.
Since we had a rental car for the night, our friend Paul recommended that we drive back to Inman Park and go to Del Bar. It was a fantastic last meal experience in Atlanta. Our server was very knowledgeable about gluten-free, and we had a delicious dinner of chicken and lamb.
Overall, this has been one of our favorite stops thus far. From the beautiful rural views of Stone Mountain to the fun finds littered throughout downtown Atlanta, this is a spot we are eager to revisit.
Why don't you sign this one off?
This is Pilot Kebab signing off. Peace.